US President Trump stated that he's dissatisfied with his phone conversation with Putin, so he will send more weapons to Ukraine.
To be honest, I'm disappointed that Putin hasn't stopped the war. I'm not happy with Putin at all. That doesn't sit well with me either. We're going to send a bit more weaponry to Ukraine. They need to have the ability to defend themselves. Right now, they're taking heavy hits. They've suffered a lot, and we're going to have to send more weapons.
Most likely, Trump used the issue of suspending one aid package to Ukraine as a way to curry favor with Putin before their phone conversation, which took place from the 3rd to the 4th. And this just shows that Trump did not achieve the desired diplomatic effect from this decision.
The statement also appeared on the Pentagon's website. So Ukraine should soon receive the previously delayed air defense system munitions.
At President Trump's direction, the Department of Defense is sending additional defensive weapons to Ukraine to ensure that Ukrainians can defend themselves while we work to secure a lasting peace and put an end to the killings. Our work to assess military supplies around the world remains in force and is an integral part of our defense priorities. America first.
Previously, the White House stated that it had suspended arms shipments around the world, allegedly because of shortages in US stockpiles. But this information was not confirmed.
It was a standard Pentagon review of all weapons, all aid and all support that the United States provides to all countries and all regions around the world, not just Ukraine. When the Secretary of Defense took office, he instructed the Pentagon to conduct this review to ensure that everything leaving the country aligns with America's interests.
There was more negativity from this suspension directly for Trump's reputation, and for his support there was a very serious turbulence within the American political establishment.
For now, the US is only willing to send weapons for defensive purposes so as not to damage Trump's image as a peacemaker. But the situation could change if the Europeans start to act more proactively.
Most likely it is necessary to bring our European partners to the forefront, as they should demonstrate a proactive stance on offensive armaments. But for example, Germany could indeed decide to provide Ukraine with their advanced Taurus missiles, which in turn would effectively allow the United States to completely avoid saying that their supplied weapons are not purely defensive, but rather offensively oriented, and that they are not actively adding more fuel to the ongoing fire of the conflict.
No matter how hard Putin tries, no one in the civilized world will ever accept his position, especially with the constant shelling and killing of civilians.
They try to stay unnoticed, working far from the front line, in apartments, basements, and disguised locations. But so far, not a single Russian occupier has managed to hide from the Ukrainian armed forces for long. The defense forces launched a real hunt for Russian drone operators in the Zaporia direction. They systematically, precisely, and quietly pushed the enemy out one by one. The operation was called dronocide. Its results are among the most significant in recent months. According to the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Ukrainian armed forces soldiers identified 90 locations where Russian operators of strike and reconnaissance drones lived and worked. 42 of these sites were destroyed or damaged.
So if we talk about the actual number of operators eliminated, we can say that it's over 100 personnel. That's at the very least. As practical experience shows, at a single temporary deployment point for unmanned aerial vehicle UAV operators, there can be anywhere from approximately 4 to 10 operators present at any given time.
8 units took part in the operation. They all worked in a coordinated manner with precise coordination, using both intelligence data and their own drones.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Training a UAV operator requires both time and accordingly financial investment. An operation of this kind can be considered unique. In other words, this is about reducing the capabilities of the occupying army to carry out strikes using FPV drones, both those operating on fiber optics and accordingly regular FPV drones, as well as minimizing the use of reconnaissance drones. That is the ability to strike at the logistics of Ukraine's defense forces, to destroy personnel, to destroy heavy armored vehicles, to affect the rotation of personnel, to evacuate the wounded, and to deliver ammunition has now been significantly reduced for the occupying army.
And the gifts for the Russian army don't end there. Mikhail Gudkov, a major general who led the 155th Marine Brigade currently attempting to advance on Sumy, has joined the list of the dead. According to Z channels, Gudkov was eliminated during a strike on the command post in the settlement of Korenevo in the Kursk region. Along with him, at least 10 more officers, most of whom were senior command staff, have also embarked on the path of purification.
It's much worse. There were 4 strikes on the forward command post of one of the brigades.
And that's not all. An important facility of the enemy's military-industrial complex has been destroyed. The UAV forces of the Ukrainian armed forces, in coordination with other defense forces, carried out a strike on the largest enterprise, Energia, in the city of Yelets-Lipetsk region. The plant is engaged in the serial production of batteries and accumulators for Russian military munitions. In particular, it manufactures planning and correction modules, a Russian development that turns conventional aerial bombs into glide bombs with increased accuracy and range. They also produce batteries for Iskander-M operational tactical missiles, Kh-35U naval cruise missiles, and power modules for specialized systems.
Explosions have been reported on the plant's premises and production has been halted. Details on the results of the strike are being clarified. The defense forces continue to take measures to weaken the military and economic potential of the Russian occupiers and to force the Russian Federation to end its armed aggression against Ukraine. This is only the beginning. Glory to Ukraine! Reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
As for the front, the enemy continues to press in all directions. In the past 24 hours, there have been 185 combat engagements. Battles were recorded in 12 directions. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
The occupiers are not abandoning their plan to expand their zone of presence on the territory of Ukraine, primarily at the expense of regions not included by the Russian dictator's decree as part of the Russian Federation. Accordingly, we are talking about Sumy, Kharkiv, and the possibility of a breakthrough towards the Dnipropetrovsk region.
There are 1,200 kilometers of active combat line. There isn't a single quiet section of the front. The enemy is trying to apply pressure wherever they can, attempting to find weak spots in our defenses. But to talk about any large-scale changes on the battlefield, 15 square kilometers along 1,200 kilometers of active combat linear is a minor result over the course of a day. Taking into account that the enemy, I repeat, is losing not only a huge number of personnel, but also equipment, weapons, and other gear, all of which, frankly, require a considerable amount of time to produce and deliver directly to the battlefield.
We are not only successfully holding back the enemy, but also striking Russian concentrations accurately and irreversibly, both their manpower and their equipment. The situation on the front line remains difficult. The Ukrainian armed forces are doing everything possible to bring the disgraceful defeat of the Russian army closer as soon as possible. And now the question is not whether it will happen, but when